Welcome back to Trending Now USA. I am Bella, and today we bring you a developing story from the world of professional tennis that has ignited debate, speculation, and intense fan reaction across the globe. After weeks of silence, careful wording, and guarded interviews, Iga Świątek has finally responded to the growing conversation surrounding her rivalry with Coco Gauff, and the tone, timing, and substance of her remarks are already being described by many insiders as something Coco Gauff may not appreciate. For months now, the narrative around women's tennis has been shaped by the evolving balance of power at the very top. Coco Gauff's rise has been rapid, confident, and loud in its results, while Iga Świątek's dominance has been quieter, but historically consistent. The tension between these two stars has never been officially labeled a feud, yet the undertones have been present in press conferences, match analysis, social media reactions, and even in the way commentators frame their achievements. Fans have long waited for a moment when Swiatek would speak candidly about the shifting landscape and about Gauff's growing influence. That moment has now arrived. Iga Świątek, known for her reserved demeanor and methodical approach both on and off the court, chose her words carefully, but the message was unmistakable. In a recent interview that quickly made headlines, she addressed the comparisons, the expectations, and the subtle suggestion that her era at the top might be under threat. While she never mentioned Coco Gauff by name in a confrontational way, the implications were clear enough for the tennis world to draw its own conclusions. Swiatek began by reflecting on the nature of success in professional tennis, emphasizing that dominance is not defined by hype or momentary momentum, but by consistency, discipline, and long-term performance. She spoke about how every generation produces players who capture attention quickly, and how the sport often rushes to crown new queens before the full story is written. This alone raised eyebrows, as many interpreted it as a direct reference to the way Coco Gauff has been celebrated as the future, and in some eyes, the present, of women's tennis. What made Swiatek's response particularly striking was her calm confidence. There was no defensiveness, no irritation in her voice. Instead, she projected the assurance of someone who believes her body of work speaks louder than headlines. She reminded listeners that staying at the top requires more than talent and charisma. It requires mental resilience, physical durability, and the ability to adapt season after season. To many fans, this sounded like a subtle but firm reminder that she has already proven herself under the most intense pressure, across multiple surfaces and over several years. The reaction was immediate. Analysts dissected every sentence, comparing it to Coco Gauff's recent interviews, where Gauff has spoken openly about wanting to take over the #1 spot and redefine the sport in her own image. Gauff's confidence has been widely praised, especially given her young age, but Swiatek's comments introduced a counter-narrative that ambition alone does not equate to sustained greatness. Swiatek also addressed the psychological side of competition, an area where she has often been praised for her maturity. She explained that rivalries can be motivating, but they can also become distractions if players focus too much on external validation. This point resonated deeply within the tennis community, especially among former players who know how quickly pressure can derail even the most promising careers. Without saying it directly, Swiatek seemed to suggest that her approach is grounded in self-improvement rather than comparison. As the interview continued, she touched on respect within the sport, stating that she welcomes competition and believes it pushes everyone to a higher level. However, she added that respect is earned through consistency and professionalism, not just through viral moments or media attention. Again, fans could not help but link this statement to Coco Gauff, whose popularity extends far beyond the tennis court and into mainstream culture. This is where opinions began to divide sharply. Supporters of Swiatek praised her honesty and composure, calling her response a masterclass in how champions handle emerging challengers. They argued that she was simply stating facts and defending the value of sustained excellence. On the other side, Coco Gauff's fans viewed the comments as dismissive, interpreting them as an attempt to downplay Gauff's achievements and influence. Social media quickly became the battleground for these opposing views. Clips of Swiatek's interview circulated widely, accompanied by captions suggesting that she was putting Coco Gauff at her place, or reminding everyone who's really in charge. At the same time, Gauff's supporters pointed out her recent victories, her poise under pressure, and her role as a global ambassador for the sport, arguing that impact cannot always be measured by rankings alone. What makes this situation even more compelling is the contrast in personalities between the two players. Coco Gauff has embraced the spotlight from a young age, speaking openly about social issues, confidence, and the responsibilities of being a role model. Iga Świątek, in contrast, has maintained a more private profile, focusing heavily on preparation, mental health, and staying grounded. These differing approaches have always fascinated fans, but Swiatek's recent remarks brought those differences into sharper focus. Industry insiders suggest that this moment could mark a turning point in how their rivalry is perceived. Until now, the narrative has largely been driven by media speculation and fan debate. With Swiatek finally speaking out, the dynamic feels more defined, even if it remains unspoken on the court. It adds an extra layer of intrigue to their future matchups, where every point, gesture, and post-match comment will be scrutinized through this new lens. It is also important to consider the broader context of women's tennis. The sport has entered a period of transition, with multiple players capable of winning major titles and challenging for the top ranking. In this environment, comparisons are inevitable, and narratives can quickly overshadow individual journeys. Swiatek's response can be seen as an attempt to recenter the conversation on performance rather than perception. From a strategic standpoint, her words may also serve as internal motivation. Champions often use external narratives as fuel, and by addressing the topic directly, Swiatek may have relieved herself of the pressure of unspoken expectations. At the same time, the message could serve as a quiet challenge to Coco Gauff, signaling that respect at the top level is not given freely but earned through sustained results. As of now, Coco Gauff has not issued a direct response to Swiatek's comments. That silence has only added to the speculation. Some believe Gauff is choosing to let her tennis do the talking, while others expect a carefully crafted statement that reasserts her confidence and ambition. Given Gauff's media savvy, many anticipate that when she does speak, her words will be just as impactful. Fans are now looking ahead to the next time these two stars meet on court. The anticipation has reached a new level, fueled not by trash talk or overt rivalry, but by contrasting philosophies and quiet assertions of dominance. Matches between Swiatek and Gauff have always drawn attention, but now they carry additional symbolic weight, representing a clash between established authority and rising influence. What cannot be denied is that women's tennis is thriving because of players like Iga Świątek and Coco Gauff. Their differences, their competitive spirit, and even moments of tension contribute to a richer, more compelling sport. Swiatek's response, whether interpreted as fair or provocative, has added depth to the ongoing story of this era. As the season progresses, every tournament result will be viewed through this narrative framework. A win by Swiatek will be seen as validation of her message about consistency and discipline. A win by Gauff will be celebrated as proof that the new generation is ready to lead. Either way, the sport benefits from the heightened attention and emotional investment of fans. In the end, Iga Świątek's response was not loud, not aggressive, and not overtly confrontational. It was measured, confident, and rooted in her understanding of what it takes to remain at the top. Whether Coco Gauff likes it or not is almost secondary to what it represents. A reminder that greatness in tennis is defined over time, not moments. This story is far from over. As both players continue their journeys, their words, actions, and performances will keep shaping the conversation. One thing is certain: the rivalry, whether openly acknowledged or not, has entered a new chapter, and the tennis world will be watching every step of the way. You are watching Trending Now USA, and I am Bella, bringing you the stories that everyone is talking about, right as they happen.